So hi there again everyone, this is again Alan and welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today in this video, we are going to be focusing and reviewing another watercolor set from Sakura, and that is none other than the Sakura Koi Watercolors. This Sakura set was kindly sent to me by a subscriber from Japan who doesn't want to be identified anyway, along with the Sakura Mat set which we reviewed last week. Please do check it out if you haven't seen it yet. So thank you so much to our friend from Japan. Sakura Color Products Corporation is an arts and office supplies company based in Osaka. According to their website, Koi watercolors are semi-transparent. Currently, they're available in 12 and 24 color sets only. I think this set of 18 has now been phased out, but the tubes inside are still the same. Just like in Sakura Mat set, the kois come in plastic tubes which are, according to the Sakura website, better in preventing cracks and punctures. I did not find a chart for koi unlike for Sakura Mat, so I assume koi tubes are only 24 color max. I saw also the tags Koi Series, Hobby, and Art. There's no tag School, which is present in Matte, so I assume the kois are higher grade. Aside from the tube sets of koi, they also have cake sets, and years ago I have reviewed the Sakura Koi pocket-filled sketchbox, and honestly, I wasn't very much pleased by it because of the too evident flocculation in many of its colors. But since these tubes are made in Japan, in contrast to the sketchbox cakes which are made in China, I think I can expect improvement this time. Anyway, currently the 18 tubes of koi is priced at Amazon US for $44.91 US, while at Shopee Philippines here it's 1,277 Philippine pesos or 24 US, and 756 Philippine pesos or 14 US for the 12 color set. Yes, it's cheaper here because I'm in Asia, and of course this is gonna be a lot cheaper in Japan. Anyway, I'm going to be putting all the useful links at the description box for your instant access. So now let's check out our box, but it's still sealed with cellophane, so let's now first unwrap our set. So now here is our box. It looks so oriental because of the lettering. So we have here a preview of the tubes inside. It says here 12 ml. And we have here, of course, the Sakura logo. I think the better orientation is like that, vertical, but cannot fit the screen. So let's look at it in this angle. It says here watercolors, Koi watercolors, and it says here 18 fine quality transparent watercolors. And let's look at this side. And on this side, we have here the swatches of the colors that are included inside. So we have 18 colors, and here we have manufacturer, the Sakura Color Products Corporation, and it says here made in Japan. So we have here the AP logo and the product code. So let's now check out our tubes. So yes, they're all oriented vertically, and it looks so good. Let's have a quick comparison against the Sakura Mat. So here is the Sakura Mat. These are 5 ml. And on this side of the box, we don't have any information. And the tubes are placed in this plastic tray. It's a flimsy plastic tray, so I don't suggest you taking it out from the box. So that's how it is set up. Anyway, let's check out an individual tube. So these are 12 ml tubes, plastic, and in front we have here the color name. So this is cerulean blue. You have here the number or the color code. It says here Koi Watercolors 12 ml, and at the back we have here the color name in 3 different languages. Have here the bar, says here made in Japan, and that's all that we have. We don't have the pigment code, the transparency rating, etc. I rearranged the tubes according to my preference, and after that I inspected the paints, and I have seen that 8 out of the 18 colors have moderate to severe binder pigment separation issues. So those colors are lemon yellow, deep yellow, pale orange, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, Viridian hue, yellow green, and Chinese white. But that's not a deal breaker for me, because you can just mix them with a toothpick or a pin to mix the binder and the pigment again. So yeah, don't throw the binder, because that's gonna help you, of course, get your paints or your pigment stick or adhere on paper. So no, don't throw them out, just mix them well. But anyway, let's proceed. And now for our swatches and sample painting, I'm using, as always, Arches 185 cold pressed cotton paper. And for my brushes, I have here my Fumowi size 4 travel brush and my Nevskaya Palitra Kolinsky sable brush, flat brush size 8. And so I'll do the swatches directly from the tube. So let's begin. Lemon yellow, our first color, is the cool yellow of the set. I think it's semi-transparent and it's vibrant. Deep yellow is the warm yellow of the set, and I think it's semi-transparent. Pale orange is obviously an opaque color, probably because of the presence of a white pigment. Vermilion hue is the warm red of the set, and I find it to be very intense. Now carmine is the cool red of the set, and I think it reminds me so much of quinacridone red. Their purple leans closer to red or pink, and it reminds me so much of manganese violet. Ultramarine is the warm blue of the set, and I think the hue is standard. There is a noticeable granulation to this ultramarine version, but it's not as strong as the other versions that I've seen. Now, this cobalt blue hue, or the imitation of genuine cobalt blue, obviously has white in it. That's why it's semi-opaque. I suspect this is a combination of white and ultramarine pigment, but I can say that it's a good imitation of the PB28 cobalt blue color. Now, cerulean blue hue is also a good imitation of the original PB35 pigment. I think this is a combination of PB15 and PW5 or PW6 to get this hue. Their Prussian blue looks standard, it's very deep. Viridian hue is the cool green of the set, and it's semi-transparent. Deep green is a beautiful color, although I can see fluctuation in its texture. And also this color reminds me so much of the green color from White Nights using PG8. Next is yellow green. You know me, I'm not a fan of this hue, but I think it's gonna be useful to mixes, especially for botanical artists. Next color is yellow ochre. This is a yellowish earth color, and as expected, it's opaque. Now their burnt sienna has a standard hue for me, but it's opaque. Next color is Van Dyke brown. To me, it looks like burnt umber, which I actually prefer. This is also semi-transparent. Our next color is ivory black, and it looks so deep. And finally, we have here our last color. It's Chinese white, and it's opaque. Now, while we are waiting for our swatches to dry, let's now proceed to our sample painting. And for our sample painting, I have chosen to use only 5 colors, and those 5 colors are deep yellow, carmine, I also have cobalt blue hue, deep green, and burnt sienna. And for this, I'll be shortening the process through clips, and I'm so ready to do this. Let's begin. Now both our sample painting and swatches are finally dry. Let's now have a closer look. Now, before I give my final verdict on Sakura Koi watercolor tubes, let's now first proceed to the comparison portion. And let's begin with a set of paints that are, I think, less performing as compared to the Sakura Koi watercolor tube. So let's begin with the Best Buy watercolors. Then we have the Simbalayon watercolors, the Dong-A Creative, the Jovi Aquarella, the Faber-Castell solid watercolors, the Sterling Arts watercolors. And now let's go to Sakura Koi Pocket Filled Sketchbox. This is the brother of Sakura Koi watercolor tubes. So although they're from the same company, you can see the difference in texture. You can see the flocculation in the Pocket Filled Sketchbox. They're just not pleasing for me, but the colors are there, they're popping, so I think they're still usable. And we also have the Giorgione watercolor cakes, the Reeves watercolors, the Magiwa Basics watercolors, the Montmartre Two Seasons. We also have the Maris watercolors in pans, the Maris in tubes, then the Faber-Castell in tubes, the Pentel watercolors fine. We also have the Art Ranger watercolors, the Berkeley watercolors. Then we also have the Pebeo Studio watercolors, the Lefranc and Bourgeois Louvre watercolors, the Prang watercolors 2007 and the 2019. And finally, we have the Renaissance watercolors. Two sets are, I think, very comparable with the Koi watercolor tubes. That's the Semi Art Solid watercolors 50s and the Sakura Mat watercolors. I can see almost no difference between these two, honestly. There must be a difference, I know, because they specify this is matte. I'm not sure if that's because these are matte, they're not glossy. And obviously the Sakura Koi colors are also matte. No any evidence of glossiness on these paints, even though some of them have a binder pigments separation issue, and usually in those cases you see glossy outputs, but no, they're not glossy. If I need to point out one thing, I think there's a slight noticeable difference when it comes to transparency. I think the Kois are slightly more transparent, but that's just a tiny bit difference, almost not noticeable, but could just be how I swatched them. But yeah, that's the only small difference I saw. Now let's proceed to the paints that are, I think, better performing as compared to the Sakura Koi watercolor tubes. These are student grade to professional grade. So let's begin with the Superior Foldable, the Superior Fan Palette. We also have the Semi Arts Arch watercolors. Then we have the Superior watercolors, the Semi Art Semi-Dry watercolors. Then we have here the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. We also have the Koh-i-Noor Brilliant watercolors, the Owen watercolors in metal case, the Owen watercolor cakes. Then we have here the Pelikan Transparent watercolors. We also have here the Miyahime Solid watercolors. We also have the Pretty Excellent watercolors, the Winsor Newton China, the Good Side Chinese Painting Pigments watercolors, the Milyang watercolors 52 colors. Then we have the Kiaomei watercolors, the Grumbacher Academy watercolors, the Sonnet watercolors, the Winsor Newton Cutman, the Van Gogh watercolors. Now we're going to the professional grades. We have here the Busto Artists watercolors, the Lucas Aquarel 1862, also the Prima Marketing Tropicals, the Mongyo Professional watercolors, the Tokuyo Kamlin watercolors from India, the Wichitrong, the Silpakorn from Thailand, the Viburnum Art Professional watercolors, the Paul Rubens watercolors in pans, the Paul Rubens florals in tubes, the Paul Rubens 4th generation watercolors. Then we have here the Isaro Extra Fine watercolors, the Blux Extra Fine watercolors. Then we have also here the Utrecht Artists watercolors, the Rembrandt Luxury Pocket Box. We also have the Egal Yohani watercolors, the Core watercolors, White Knights in tubes. Then we have the Winsor Newton Professional in pans, the Holbein watercolor paints, the Micello Mission Gold Pure Pigment Set, Schminke Hortam watercolors, and of course, Daniel Smith Extra Fine watercolors. So now let's talk about our colors. So let's begin with the color selection. I think this selection could work because it has split primaries. We have here a cool and a warm yellow, a warm and a cool red, and lots of blues. So we have here a warm blue and 3 cool blues. We have here 3 greens, 3 earths, a black, and a white. But I would be happier if there's some sort of a mid-red here or a earthy red color in the form of Indian red or Venetian red. I think there's a lot of blues here, but I love blues, and I'm glad that these 4 blues look different from each other. If I would omit one, I would remove yellow green in place of a alizarin crimson or an Indian red. Now when it comes to color payoff, I think the colors are vibrant. They're very saturated for the price, so I'm okay with it. Now when it comes to movement, I don't think they move very fast. They move fine. And what I like about these paints, I think the best feature of these paints is actually how they spread, how the colors mix. They spread evenly, exactly just like my comment for the Sakura Mat Watercolors. I think it's their best feature. Now when it comes to transparency, they're not bad. They're semi-transparent, and I'm glad that the website is very honest about that. Some colors are opaque, especially Chinese white and pale orange, because this contains white, and also the cerulean blue hue. And the rest of the colors are semi-transparent, and I noticed that there is this thin layer of white that makes the paints matte, similar to Sakura Mat Watercolors. Now to see how well the paints adhere on paper, let's check with a sheet of napkin. Let's rub it against our swatches and sample painting, and if we find traces, that could be a sign that these paints are chalky. So yes, we got some almost unnoticeable traces, but we have here some green colors, and I also noticed that they stained the mixing palette that I use. I honestly don't see a huge difference between the Sakura Mat Watercolors and the Sakura Koi Watercolors. I think the Kois are a bit, just a tiny bit more transparent as compared to the matte. If there's a difference, that should be very unnoticeable. But one thing is for sure, that their tubes are better than the cakes, than these. For those who might be interested to getting these, I love the setup, I love the palette, but I'm just not happy with the texture of these paints. The flocculation is just so annoying for me. So the tubes are fine, the texture is a lot better, and they spread more evenly. Correction, a lot more evenly. Overall, I had a great time using these paints. I am very happy above all with how smooth I was able to make our washes in the water and in the sky. It's just so easy to spread the colors and to mix the colors, so kudos to that. Even though these paints are only student grades or school grade paints, the Japanese made sure that they applied high regards to quality in processing these paints. Overall, I was really happy with my experience using the Sakura Koi watercolor in tubes, except for our binder pigment separation issue at first, but of course I was able to fix it with using pin by mixing it from the inside, so that should be fine. I would recommend this for schoolworks and craft activities and for draft painting. If you are a professional or an enthusiast who plans on making paintings for display or to be sold, please choose paints that have credible light fastness ratings and reliable and identified pigment selection. If these koi paints are the only available paints to you, I would suggest you to do your own light fastness test to gain confidence with these paints. So that's all for our Sakura Koi watercolor review. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, please put it at the comment box below. I'll be waiting for your comments. Again, this has been Alan, thanking you for reaching this far. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to like and share this video, and also please subscribe to show support to my channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. See you on the next video. Bye-bye!